Hey guys, what's going on? To the Real Results Show, where we feature real health coaches and health practitioners getting real health results for their clients and as always themselves. I'm your host, Bren Burmeyer. I'm a clinical advisor for FDN, and I'm the director of our association of awesome graduates, where we get to actually support our community with ongoing education regarding a variety of different clinical and business building topics. So this week, I'm super stoked to have my good friend Isabela Fortes on our show. Isabela actually completed the course just this past May. She's a recent graduate, and we couldn't be more excited to hear a little bit about her journey into the FDN community and certification course. So, Isabela, how are you doing tonight?
I am fantastic. How are you?
I'm doing great. This is kind of exciting because I've done quite a bit of consulting with you, and you're a super knowledgeable recent graduate, and I'm excited to be able to hear a little bit more about your journey so I can get to know you better, but then also the world and anybody listening that might be able to resonate with your story. So my favorite question, just kind of kickstart the convo. I'd love to hear what brought you to FDN? How'd you hear about it? What attracted you to it, and kind of go from there.
Okay. So yeah, I've been on trying to find health since I'm 7 years old. I had quite a journey of crazy things, and I never really connected with the way that the medical world handled me in particular. Yeah. And then very recently, last year, I had a weird, very, very strange thing happen to my son. So myself, I was handling fine, I'm a yoga teacher, doing all the good stuff, meditating. I lived in a monastery, so I actually can, if anybody needs, I can put you into parasympathetic mode within 15 minutes. I guarantee.
There we go.
So I was handling, but then when it was my kid and I saw myself at CHOC not arguing, but advocating for my child with the head of CHOC that wanted to do blood transfusion and give him shots for something that I could not understand. But at that point, I was opinionated mom, arguing with the head of the children's hospital because I wanted more information before authorizing them to do anything to my 10-year-old. Yeah. So at that point, I pretty much said, I'm going home. I'm going to do homework and I'll get back to you guys. So that's what I did. So I went home, and then was some crazy things. I called 23andMe because they said that, anyway, I went to Google and I got all the information that I could get. And then I called 23andMe. They were actually very helpful with genetic stuff. Yeah. Which, of course, we know that, even if you don't have the gene, it could be on. But they were like, listen, everything that they are telling you, there's absolutely no genetic predisposition for that. Mm. And then I'm like, okay, good to know, at least one thing less. And I went in all the holistic things that I could. I found functional pediatrician, and turned out, honestly, as crazy as it sounds, we cleared his liver. The anemia that he was having was gone. Mm-hmm. And with that, I'm like, I really need to understand and do that by myself because I don't want to depend on anybody. And I went to 10 pediatricians, and I probably got 7 different results. So since I got 3 that matched, I went to those 3. We followed that direction. I've been in Brazil I'm from Brazil. We have a different way of doing health. I've done homeopathic all my life. So I went to Brazil. I checked with my basis over there, and it was as simple as Dress for Health's program. Not as simple as that, but it wasn't blood transfusion that the way that I was being led to believe, and I didn't want to believe, thank God, because I spared my kid from a very traumatic experience unnecessarily. So after that experience, I decided that I wanted to know more, and I started researching online, and I heard the podcast with Reed. In everything he said, I'm like, finally someone is making sense, because I've been doing this to myself all my life, but I wanted a organized, a structured way of thinking it. And I'm a mom, I have 2 kids, and I couldn't just drop anything. I was about to drop everything and go to Bastille.
Oh, wow.
And my husband was like, I have the tendency of I don't put my feet on the water, I jump. So,
right on.
I moved all over the world. I moved to a monastery in India 20 years ago. So my husband was like, please don't do that again. We're not moving to San Diego. I can't handle it,
Yeah.
And then I was like, okay, I'll find something online for the time being. And then I found FDN, and it was a start. And I do a lot of things at the same time. So it gave me a structured way of thinking. It gave me credentials in a way, and it empowered me to have other discussions or put my opinions a little bit more, because up to this point that it was only me thinking and myself as my own lab and experience. Now I feel like I have backup. I have other people that think like I do, and I just want to learn more. And I have this, like you too. I'm like, we need to save the world. I also was on one of my 7 lives. I was an environmentalist. I also lived in the Amazon, and my job was to find sustainable solutions for the local population so they wouldn't destroy the forest.
Wow.
Because it's very simple for you to say, oh, we have to protect the forest. And there's this mom with a starving child. She's like, heck no, I'm going to tear this tree down because I need milk today. So my job was to find her other ways to keep the forest up. So it's kind of the same way that I feel with the body. There's so many misinformation, and people are doing the best that they can with information that they have. They just don't have the information. So that's my story a little bit.
I knew that we vibed, and now it's becoming more and more clear. I had no idea, about some of the different things. That was super interesting. And an environmentalist, and so obviously a very health conscious, holistic minded individual. And just as we hear on the show, literally every week, it's people that were. I don't want to use the word failed because that sounds so harsh, but yeah, kind of failed by the healthcare system, and look, I always say, I wouldn't be alive without conventional healthcare, and we need it. It's not like we're saying otherwise. It's just, there's a huge needs gap that needs to be filled. Exactly. And, I always say how it's like, there's this kind of healthcare spectrum of, okay, well, conventional medicine and that final safety net of drugs and surgery, like when all else fails and we need to save your life. And then on the other side of the spectrum, we've got, your health coaches and your nutrition coaches, personal trainers. And, that's where I started my career when I was 19. But there's a huge gap in between that. And that's really where the FDN professional shines is, we're skilled in the art of coaching, but we also know clinical science, and we acknowledge the more functional sciences with those underlying causes. So I think it's an amazing story to hear you talk about, ultimately being a badass mom and looking out for your kid and not taking, it's one thing for yourself, but doing that for your kid and everything, it's just this really unconditional love where you didn't take that answer. You really kept, you took ownership of the situation. And you sought out other options that, ultimately were a better solution for you guys. So that's really cool to learn that story. And I know that I love having you in the FDN course and community. So tell us a little bit about your experience going through the course, what you learned and how, working on yourself with the lab testing might have made a difference, or your overall experience with the course.
He was great. From module 1, I found myself that he's making so much sense, and here I am, I just want to know more and more and more. And again, on my maybe anxiety mode, I'm like, I'm going to do every test because I want to see what comes out, what comes out of that. So from the beginning, I ordered the 5 labs and more.
Yeah.
So, which I don't know if I recommend that, because it's an overwhelming amount of information that I couldn't even digest. So I tried for help, very well. But it's very good because it's a structured way of thinking, and the method that was taught, because I've studied a lot of those things before. Yeah. Like I told you, since I am 15, I've been struggling of being understood, knowing that, when to seek for real help. I need to go to the hospital right now, and you guys know what to do. But knowing that sometimes I was not heard. I didn't have my period for 2 years, and I'm not kidding. A very high-skilled Brazilian doctor told me that I needed Prozac. And I'm like, you know what? Like, I think I'm good. So it wasn't that time of the, it was like, I think there's something else to so the course kind of gave me perspective and bigger picture, and how to, sometimes we complicate things, and the PO4 anneal, so it's very easy even in our functional world to use that, and I've tried it before and it doesn't work.
Right.
No, so going back to the basics and giving the whys. Like last week when we had the webinar with Marisol.
Yeah.
Like, I've been sleeping with saran wrap around me for the past 15 years because I've heard that back in Brazil. I had no idea. So I have a strong belief on things, that extraordinary things happen, and that there are things beyond our comprehension. But she just brought comprehension to something that was very simple, old coaches were doing. So learning things that, one, I'm not crazy yet, that thing works, like I knew it worked, I just couldn't convince anybody else to do it.
Right.
Now, so every little thing like that, where to look for, when to back up. I'm still newbie, I'm still learning, but I think it's a fantastic, was a perfect place for me to start.
I love hearing that, and how your characteristics that, you've had your entire life. And then, it's that comforting feeling of you find something and it's like, oh, like I'm home, or like, this is for me, like there's other people that think this way. I'm glad I'm not the only one. Now
this for me, so sorry to interrupt, has
you're
been
good.
Like refreshing in the next 6 months, past 6 months, because I am an odd mom out. I've been an odd child in school because I just don't accept things that I don't understand.
Yeah.
And then as a mom in Southern California, it's hard because I feel that I'm always swimming against the tide. My kids are weird. They take rice and beans and grilled chicken in the little thermos to school. And they are like, gluten, like, we don't eat that, Mom. Somebody tried to take me to In-N-Out, like they were trying to, my son, like, I'm like, they're not trying to kill you, they just don't know any better. It's like, okay, get something and pretend everything is okay, and then I'll feed you at home. So I am weird. And then when I found you guys, was exactly this, was the same sensation when I went to the meditation ashram, like, oh my gosh, there's other people that feel like I feel, and that want to do what I do with the same amount of passion, because I can be very intense, and it's lonely in where I am. So when I was like jumping in, found the Facebook page, know that you guys are there every Friday, I'm there. I just feel that I have company now.
Yeah. Wow. Cool. Yeah, we're pretty similar in a few ways, then, I would say. But you're totally right. It's I always describe the FDN community as kind of this collective consciousness of like-minded people that are all very, holistic minded, but also evidence-based, and very empathetic and driven to help other people. And, you pointed it out, I'm, my whole thing is I'm always like, we got to save the world, but like, we really do. There's millions upon millions of people in this nation alone suffering from chronic diseases and conditions that, have such common, underlying contributing factors that are, causing the oxidative stress and inflammation that ultimately cause the disease state. And conventional medicine simply does not even acknowledge the existence of the majority of it. It's like, whoa, come on.
And even in the naturopathic world, like I take my kids to a very, and I'm no naming names, a very renowned naturopath here in Southern California. And after I was treating him with, we did some liver detox and stuff. And then he did some allergy testing. And my son came out with a bunch of food sensitivities. And the recommendations that the guy gave for my kid to eat, I was like, I had to cover my kid's ear. I'm like, no. Yes, you can eat the same thing over and over again. No, don't worry about it. He doesn't like fruits. He doesn't like veggies. And I'm like, the kid, you're making an impression. You're an authority. I'm just a mom. He needs to hear from you that what he eats is going to directly impact his health.
Right.
It's the source. It's like, are you going to put water in your car? No. So you're not going to put junk in your body. It's like some things need correct fuel. So this back to the basics and knowing that we do need to preach. I in school, I'm famous, like here comes her with her rules of Halloween, and I'm like, do we need to feed a kindergarten? You should see what they do over here. It's like milkshake with gummy worms floating. I'm like, I'm horrified. My kids just look at me, and sometimes I'm like, I'll behave. I'm just going to be quiet. I'm not going to say anything. I'm not embarrassing you guys, but I go straight to the principal's office. I'm like, is that really necessary? Does a 5-year-old need soda? So little things that, you wouldn't believe, we still have to protest this stuff. But it is. And if we don't speak up, people would just keep on doing what they're doing and then come to you and say, what pill can I take for that? When they're like, come rolling over their stuff. I'm like, I can't deal with that,
Oh my gosh,
and I am very loving. If you come on that, I will, I will very loving and with a lot of compassion. I will embrace you and try to, educate you. But in my mind, I'm like, I just can't believe this. This is first world. We're not like, I'm not in India and Brazil where people they're actually eating better down there. Trust me, it's so it's like the lack of communication. I think like after this, we need to go into school system. I actually have this program here in the school system. Like they need to teach this stuff. Our generation is lost. We got to teach the kids because.
Yeah, absolutely. Holy cow. Wow. You are just extremely authentic, and we are very identical humans. But you're so right. And I love how you're calling it how it is. And, there's a lot of dancing around the problem and not enough like people taking action of what the problem really is. And, I'm sure that some people, depending on who's watching this, they might be like, that they sound overly holistic and intense. And, it's like, guys, no, it's very real. Look at the statistics. Or you forget about the statistics, like look around our nation. Look at the line at McDonald's and the line at CVS across the street. Look at the quality of life. Look at, like, it's a no-brainer. And that's exactly, the FDN system is all about, providing hope, I think, is a huge thing. Providing hope that there is more, like I can say that the best part about working with a client is when you're able to give them answers and solutions that no one else has ever been able to give. And for the first time in however many years of suffering, you see that glimmer of hope, and how do we do that? It's through, as you're saying, like getting back to the basics, but doing it in a very scientifically measured and validated and objective manner with a whole lot of love, So with like the lab, so to kind of steer us back to talking about the course and the way it's structured so people understand like, well, what is it that they actually do? I mean, the easiest way to describe it is like a holistic health coach based, service program, but we're also using objective data with functional lab testing to guide the necessity of these different lifestyle recommendations. And, educating the client on how they can take their health back into their own hands. And that's what I love about the way that you're speaking to the problem with your awesome, just fiery verbiage. And you're getting to the heart right there. And that's exactly it, is like, we're trying to really empower people. So I don't know. I couldn't agree more with you. And I love that you're really just, saying it how it is, because not enough people are doing that, and it doesn't help. And it makes, people get so uncomfortable when we talk about like, the planet is dying, we're killing ourselves, our species is a parasite to the planet, like that. No one wants to hear that or talk about it, but it's like, well, we need to start making some changes. And that's why I think I'm so passionate about FDN. Is we are a collective consciousness of people that we're stepping up. We're taking ownership of ourselves, our own lives, but then also turning around to help other people do the same. It's a movement, right?
Definitely. And the lab was the ability to run the labs. It's what made me seal the deal with you guys, because it's the same. I've been nerdy all my life. I want to see objective data. I have a firm belief and faith on things, but if you can see them like science, like we all,
Yeah.
that's our leverage. Even if I'm going to talk to a doctor, even in my own house, which is my husband is a chef. He's a foodie, you know,
Yeah.
and then I'm too strict, this and that. After he saw my kid's lab was the only time he was like, okay, I'm going to start cooking different things. And then he sent it to his family, and then they're like, oh, can you test me? Do you think I have that? Because it's something that you can stop, pause, and like, oh, yes, you can measure this.
Mm-hmm.
And and then you can measure success, and you can measure if you derailed. So it's motivating, empowering, and it gives you more than, because it's hard. Not everybody can listen to their bodies objectively, or I mean, we've been practicing for a long time, and it is hard to hear what the body's trying to say. So if you see it, you know, on a lab test, on a blood test, on a whatever it is, it's I think it's just so awesome. I really like to see tests, and one thing that I learned is, yes, there's a variety of tests. As you get smarter, you choose them wiser, you know, so you don't have to test for everything. You're like, okay, I already had an idea. I think with this 2 will be good for now. More than that, more tests did not necessarily give me more information. It gave you more information, but it's not going to change much of what I'm going to start doing it. You know, yes, we do have more information. Sorry, that was wrong. But it's like, am I going to do something much different?
Right.
Or then I'm like, oh, I didn't get results, or I didn't move the needle. Maybe I'm going to check something else to get more clues. So I think having that ability and that menu to choose from on what to do now and what to go about and what to do with that information, it's awesome. So we as FDNs have a very good menu and approach to that.
Exactly. And, you know, I love how you say that, because to me, like, it's never made sense to me, again, you know, starting my career 8 years ago or 9 as a trainer and nutrition coach, and, you know, really like basically a holistic health coach and fitness at the end of the day. And I from day one, I just couldn't wrap my head around, how am I supposed to help another person, you know, reach their health goals without objective data? You know, I never could wrap my head around that. Yeah, you know, there, like with fitness, there's like VO2 testing, or, you know, there's data that you can collect, but no, we need some actual metabolic, physiological, biochemical, objective indicators that what we're doing to your lifestyle, your supplementation, your nutrition, your exercise, we need to make sure everything about your life is catered towards moving that needle in the right direction. And here's how we're going to prove it. You know, so you're exactly right. And also in the, you know, the functional medicine industry, there's no standard of education. And so I see a lot of practitioners, clinicians, doctors, whatever, and I don't necessarily always understand, like, it doesn't seem like there's a structure to their approach. Sometimes it's kind of a shotgun approach, and then you have the really brilliant people that they're just really good, and it's like a sniper approach. But the thing about FDN is we really provide a very, very structured framework of how we're going to move this person along. You know, we're not just going to run, like you said, we're not just going to run every test under the sun, hoping we find something. That's for amateurs. You know, we're going to be smart enough to be able to narrow down, what do we need right now to have the data to make accurate recommendations to guide this program in the right direction. But as you said too, a lot of times, you know, the lab testing, it's twofold. And this is why, even if you're just a health coach and you're kind of considering, like, do I want to maybe take it up a notch? This is exactly that, because that lab test data, it serves two purposes. One, it proves it to the client. It proves that, hey, no, you can't keep eating gluten because your wheat zoomer says you're super reactive, bro. You know, or but on the flip side of that, it obviously gives us those identified hidden stressors, those underlying contributing factors that are really provoking a lot of bad juju in the body. Basically, if it's feeding inflammation and oxidative stress, it's feeding disease. And so any of those things, whether it's food sensitivities or metals or parasites, we got to find a solution for that. It's hurting your body. So, you're exactly right. But well, super cool. We're getting close to the end of the show, but I want to make sure people can find you because I'm sure you just made a lot of fans because you're super cool. So where can people learn more about you?
So
How
I'm
can they get
actually,
connected to you?
everything rolled too fast. So I have my old website, which is just my name, is Isabela Fortes. That's just a yoga thing, and it's pretty outdated and it's being updated. And I have my new health coach, which is theyogini.co. The M was too expensive, so I got the CO instead. Like once I get more to invest, I'll upgrade to a .com. So theyogini.co. So I am trying to, as you know, I love the taking care of people part.
Yeah.
The back office part is not my thing, so I'm struggling with that a little bit. So that will come in due time. But if they go through both of those, it's going to reach me. And Instagram too. I'm still trying to piece it all together to get a better front.
Perfect. Well, certainly if you ever want to talk, I totally understand what you're saying. Building a business takes time. And so, that's the exciting thing is you just graduated in May, but as we can all see, like you're such a strong candidate. And, I know from our work together that you're super sharp, and I can't wait to see how many lives you can, really change and really save too, just like you did with your son and yourself and your family. But I'm a super fan, love what you're doing. I love your vibe, and we need a lot more like you. But definitely, guys, go check her out, the Yogini. I love that. We are Instagram connected there, but thank you so much for being on the show tonight.
Thank you, Brandon.
Thank you. So guys, for those of you that are watching live, always keep in mind our virtual door is always open. You can go to functionaldiagnosticnutrition.com/counselor and actually talk to a course counselor and see if this is the right fit for you, because it is a big undertaking. It's not something to be taken lightly by any means, but it's a absolutely amazing career shift to make if you're within this space. So keep in mind, you can also go ahead and enroll in the course if you know that you're ready to rock. functionaldiagnosticnutrition.com/Facebook Live. You can hit me up, talk to any of our grads. Or if you're a person watching and you're suffering from health complaints and not getting answers, solutions, and resolution for those health struggles through whatever you're currently doing, find an FDN practitioner like Isabela and many of our thousands of practitioners that we have around the world. So anyways, but we'll be back next week at the same time, same place for the Real Results Show. And again, shout out to Isabela for joining me tonight. Bye. All right, guys, everybody have a good night.